everyone, I'm Amanda Ross and welcome to my channel. This is my first video, so I thought I'd start with the AuthorTube Newbie Tag just to give you all a sense of who I am, what you can expect from my channel, and more. I'm Amanda Ross, like I mentioned. I'm a Gemini, I'm 4'11", I am a Black bisexual woman, and I am an indie author. To A Stare with Love is my first book out. I published it last summer. It's the first in a 3-part series following a young witch as he battles a vampire regime and a lot of other terrifying and wonderful things. The second book in the series, To Alaris in Desperation, is coming out in less than 2 months. I also published a short story anthology, co-published a short story anthology called Girls of Might and Magic in June. My short story, Funnel Cake, follows a young girl who gets her first summer job, but shortly after she discovers that her stepfather is becoming a werewolf. Of course, she needs help to fight that, and where does she find that help? But her employers of the Funnel Cake stand. I started my channel for a few reasons. First, as an indie author, I know how difficult it can be to publish and market your book, especially if you've never done it before. There's a lot that goes into it, and I had to learn as I went, and I want this channel to be a place where other indie authors, or even soon-to-be indie authors, or even traditionally published authors can come and get some tips and tricks for their publishing process, the writing process, marketing, and more. Second, I wanted to find a way to reach new readers because blogging is not my favorite, but I like talking to people. I like conveying information verbally, and I think I'm pretty good on camera, so I thought, why not give this a shot? Finally, I started this channel because I wanted to put more of my work out there. I found out about AuthorTube through a couple friends of mine and thought it sounded like a really good way to talk to people. Now I'm really excited to jump in. The genres I primarily write in are fantasy and horror, and under fantasy specifically, I write contemporary or urban fantasy. I really love blending the mundane with the magical, and that's why I tend to gravitate towards contemporary. I love putting some random person who, let's say they're a gas station worker or a waitress, in a fantastical situation and seeing how they work it out. That's my favorite, along with horror. Those are also my favorite genres to read and also to take in entertainment. My preferred writing tense is third person, and I typically write new adult. When I first started writing To A Stare with Love, I initially wanted to set it with my character in high school. But then I realized I wanted Mercury and his friends to be older. I wanted them to be in college, where they had a little bit more adult agency, but they were still figuring themselves out. So I set it with all of them being about 21, 22, and it really sparked for me. So for anyone who is unsure of what a plotter, pantser, or planter is, a plotter is somebody who plots out their book. A pantser is somebody who just starts writing, so writing by the seat of their pants. And a planter is a mix of both. The last two are not me. I am a plotter through and through. I thoroughly outline my work. I wouldn't say I do it chapter by chapter, but I definitely do a 3-act structure. It helps me to find any glaring plot holes or any areas that I might be unsure of as I'm outlining. Also, if I ever get stuck on a section, one of the things I'll do is I'll kind of quick outline what's supposed to happen in that section. Often it helps me to get through any fuzziness or confusion about what's happening in the story, or to really go back and address things that maybe I left unfinished previously. I'm a self-published author or an indie author, and that means that I handle everything from writing the book to publishing it and marketing it. It's a lot of fun, it's also a lot of work, and I've been an indie author officially for over a year. I really like being an indie author. I like the control that I'm able to have over the final product. I like that I'm able to learn all of these unique and new skills when it comes to like publishing the book, doing Amazon ads, or even things I've picked up along the way while I've been marketing the book. However, it is difficult sometimes when you're navigating the stigma, because for a lot of people, a self-published book or an indie book, they don't feel like it's as accomplished or as good as traditionally published book. And I want to change that stigma and hopefully help people realize that just because a book is self-published, just because an author decides to take their publication in their own hands, does not mean it's any less valuable or any less good than a traditionally published book. Now, I put pen to paper first when I was about 13 or 14, but I actually started writing stories much sooner than that. I was that girl who was always writing these really elaborate and wild stories for her Barbie dolls and making them act out things with fairies and vampires and serial killers. Truly, that was me. So, very young is when I first started writing, but I actually wrote my first novel when I was about 14. You know, freshman year, it's a big adjustment, you're going through puberty, you're learning high school, and writing became my escape. Now, I can't exactly remember the different stories that I wrote for these Barbies, but that first novel that I mentioned actually wasn't fantasy. It followed a teen girl whose parents split up as she went to visit her mother, who she did not live with, for the holidays. She did not get along with her mother, and I really wanted to show that mother-daughter relationship because personally, at the time, I wasn't getting along with my mom at all. This is, again, a way for me to kind of exercise those feelings and write out what I would want to say to my mother. So I'm excited to share a couple different types of videos with y'all here on AuthorTube. As an indie author, I know how difficult it is to go from writing to publishing to marketing your book. And I really want to provide some tips and tricks for other indie authors or soon to be published authors to help make their journey a little easier. Also, one other thing about me is I am a marketer in addition to being an indie author. And I've been a marketer for almost a decade. So I'll also be providing quite a bit of marketing tips for indie authors or any other creative on how to better market their work. I'll also be sharing some insight into my work and my writing process. And finally, I'll be talking about the genres that I love, namely fantasy and horror. That'll include some book reviews, maybe some TV and movie reviews, and just general things about the genre and different tropes within that genre. Some of my biggest inspirations include Grady Hendrix, Toni Morrison, Tomi Adeyemi, Jordan Ifueko, R.F. Kuang. I mean, I get inspiration from books as I'm reading them, but I also draw inspiration from TV, music, movies as well. I'm really inspired by artists who combine fantastical or horror with elements of comedy. So American Horror Story is also kind of a big inspiration for me as well. I don't have a set writing schedule, but I do try to write more days out of the week than not. I have a full-time job, so sometimes it can be really tiring to try to go from working a 9 to 5 and then jumping back on my computer to write, or trying to sneak in some words before work. That said, I do try to write a minimum of 25 minutes every time I sit down to write. Sometimes I end up writing far longer, but sometimes I only get 25 minutes. And that's okay, because as long as I'm writing, I'm winning. That might not work for everybody, but it's helped me write 2 novels and a short story in the last few years, so maybe it could work for you. My go-to is my laptop. However, if I'm feeling stuck or really just wanting to outline a section like I mentioned earlier, I'll start doing it in my notebook. That way I don't feel judged by the cursor or get distracted by the internet when I really need to focus. Being an indie author is rewarding, but it's also pretty tough, and you do need community in order to succeed. So hopefully I can help other indie authors no matter where they're at in their journey. And also, I'd love to reach people who are fans of my work and really just give you some insight into my writing, my process, and who I am. Also, I'm excited just to talk about the things I love: fantasy, horror, books, movies, TV. I really am excited about all of it, and I hope that y'all are excited too. I'm currently working on a book called In the House of Transcendence, and I'm really excited about it. It's a dark fantasy set in Savannah, and it follows a 21-year-old necromancer named Zora. She's afraid of her powers, afraid of being able to see ghosts and raise the dead. So when she meets a mysterious witch named Birdie who says she can help her control her powers and become an even more powerful witch, Zora is intrigued. She's drawn into Birdie's world full of other witches with various powers like teleportation and being able to hurt or heal people with sound waves. As Birdie's teaching her how to control her powers, Zora learns to find her voice, she falls in love, and she helps solve a murder. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited to get started and talk all things indie, all things marketing, all things fantasy, and also share a little bit more of my work along the way. If any of that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and subscribe. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see y'all later. Bye! I am responsible for the whole shebang. Writing the book, publishing the book, marketing the book, everything. You name it, that's me. Oh, that was corny as shit. There's a lot of YA, and there's a lot of adult novel. And there are a lot of adult novels out there. When I first started researching and really plotting my first novel, I really realized, I wanted to write stories for people who are young. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't schedule my writing sessions. What do I do? However, it's helped me write 2 novels and a short story in the last... How long has it been? 2 years? And a really fun thing to do. Why am I laughing?